into social care, an initiative conceived and produced by Cohesion and Dawson Walker, along with an advisory group of providers and students. My name is Amanda Marquez. I'm one of the owners of Cohesion, and with me today is Dave Beasley, our Social Care Talent Director, Adam Winterton, Director at Dawson Walker, Stephen Isherwood, CEO of the Institute of Student Employers, and Rebecca Hicklin, Service Delivery Manager for the Prince's Trust. But before we move on to our topic for today, a couple of housekeeping points. Could you please all turn your mobile phones off and go on mute for the duration of the presentation? We will be taking questions at the end, so please post them as we move through. And as you will have just seen, we are recording the session and we will be making it available. So ahead of getting started, and by way of an introduction, Cohesion delivers recruitment and workforce solutions for social care providers. Our clients span not-for-profit and for-profit of all sizes and in all care settings, which puts us in a strong position to share best practice. And Dawson Walker are an award-winning independent creative agency with over 25 years experience in marketing and communications. Next slide, please. So what is Step Into Social Care? It's an initiative designed for the sector, by the sector, to open up jobs to a wider audience. And what we're aiming to do is to bring together students and care and support providers in order to offer meaningful part-time work. We are targeting younger workers studying health and social care, although anyone looking for flexibility and learning in a part-time job can apply. You might be wondering, or not, why we're doing it. Next slide, please. So there's lots of reasons why, and I suspect nobody in this audience doesn't already know these main reasons that are on the screen. Our view at Cohesion is that in order to deliver the best recruitment results, it's necessary to constantly reflect and react to the market, the demographics and data. No one action and no one campaign is going to fix everything for us, but incremental improvements will have a positive impact. That will help us to impact the vacancy levels. It will help us to lose less people to other sectors, and hopefully it will also shift the dial on the demographics in the sector. We remain disappointed year after year when we see that only less than 10% of the adult social care workforce is aged between 16 and 24. But so we do believe that developing early talent strategies is one of those incremental improvements that can have a positive impact, and one of the more important things that you can focus on now for better results in the future. Next slide, please. Let me share a little bit of our journey so far. So recruitment got more challenging post-COVID. I mean, who would have thought it, but it definitely did. We had a very fed up workforce and they wanted more flexibility, weren't necessarily getting it, and temp numbers were rising. The pandemic had no impact on that constitution of the workforce. So we thought it might. We thought that might actually be the opening for more young people to come into the sector. They couldn't see their grandparents or the people they might have supported before, as an example, but actually they could take part-time work and help out. Sadly, a lot of those workers that came into the sector during COVID also left after COVID. So we started actually talking last September, to care providers about a Saturday campaign, a Saturday job initiative. We thought that would be a really good way to showcase and grow your own talent. And lots of young people have part-time jobs in retail and hospitality, even those studying health and social care. But then we spoke to colleges and students who told us that they couldn't get jobs in social care. They told us that they weren't getting feedback after they applied, and they told us that they were regularly being told you need a year's experience, which is really disappointing. And I'm sure lots of you will be saying we don't do that. They want to work full-time in the holidays, is what the students told us, and then revert to part-time during term time. And while lots said yes to part-time work, not necessarily just a Saturday job because of their other commitments. So many students told us that they didn't know why working in care was rewarding, even though they were studying it. And that's because they had no experience of being in a care setting. Colleges tend to struggle, and actually even more so during COVID, to find placement. I just ask that anybody that isn't muted mute themselves, please. Thank you. So colleges really struggle to find placements, and while other industries work hard to engage young people at an earlier and earlier age, social care often turn away young talent. So we learned a lot. We learned through a survey, we learned through a series of meetings with students, meetings with tutors, meetings with our advisory group companies and our advisory group companies' operational teams. And we co-produced Step into Social Care. The students chose the colours, which we love. They're really vibrant. They chose the branding, they chose the hashtag, and the providers helped us to identify what would be helpful to make sure students had the best possible experience at the start. So this, combined with the experience of Cohesion, Dawson Walker, and the advisory group, became the toolkit, which we'll talk about later. Next slide, please. So what are the benefits in taking part? There are lots of benefits for all stakeholders, your teams, for the people you support, and young people themselves. And in addition to these, taking part can also give you evidence to share during inspections that you're doing your very best to tackle one of the top challenges for the sector, recruitment and workforce issues. Now, maybe not all of your homes and services can accommodate a young person, but by taking part, you'll be helping to future-proof the social care workforce. So I'm going to hand over to Adam now, who is going to share, who's supporting the campaign and more about how you can all get involved. Over to you, Adam.
Thanks, Amanda. Wow, it's exciting to be here. What an exciting day. As Amanda said, there's been a little bit of preparation to get here. In fact, lots of preparation, and not least from the support of our amazing partners. And I think it's fair to say that every time we talk to a potential new partner about Step into Social Care, they really quickly get excited about it and are soon offering support, which is, I think, a testament to the idea and also the vision of those partners who can see the potential of this initiative. So a really big thank you to the Institute of Student Employers, the Association of Colleges, the National Care Forum and Care England. We welcome your energy, advice and support. Having the backing of these partners really adds weight to our campaign and will build confidence across the sector. We'll keep engaging with new partners as well. So please do make more introductions and suggestions with either Amanda or me. Next slide, please. Thank you. So there are already providers joining the initiative, which is great. And you are the pioneers, and we love you for that. By the way, the organizations on the slide have also been helping to shape our plans and are also actively promoting the initiative. So a huge thank you to all of those partners, to all of those providers. Thank you very much, and the steering group that has been gathering on a regular basis. But there's no limit to this initiative. We've got really big ambitions, and we welcome all providers to join. You just need to have the right roles available and be comfortable with our commitments, which we'll share with you in a mo. You can post a job today, and we encourage you to do so. Next slide, please. So what are we doing to launch? As you can see, this is quite a busy slide, but and that's because there are lots of things going on and lots of thoughts. So obviously today is a big part of the launch. This is our launch event, but there's lots more coming. So you should see us on the circuit over the coming months. So more events, more opportunities to share at conferences. We're promoting the initiative to schools, FE colleges and universities, and I think there are some of our education partners on this call today, which is brilliant. And we're really pleased to welcome you to this initiative. When the time is right, we'll ask you to spread the word and let your students know all about it. But we want to make sure there are enough jobs on the job site first. By the way, the job site, I think I mentioned this just now, but I'm going to mention it again. The job site is live. You can post your jobs today. We've also created a standalone web page which describes the initiatives, gives you an opportunity to sign up to the initiative, and we'll share the URL of that and give you a little preview of that later. It's hot off the press, I think it's fair to say. We've been working with a group of students to help co-create content for the social channels, and we'd welcome even more support there. So if you see Step Into Social Care come up in your social feeds, please do add comments, please do amplify the message. We'd really welcome you to do that. Any jobs that are uploaded will be tagged as Step Into Social Care, and they'll be appearing on care and support jobs, and you'll have the logo badge on your employer profile. So it will give you that mark, that standard that we think is really important. Once you've considered the initiative and decided to participate, our #1 priority is to encourage providers to offer as many relevant positions as possible, just as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So I mentioned those commitments. Here they are. And these are things that we think make sense. These are things that the students we've spoken to said would really help them make the right decision in terms of stepping into social care. So what are they looking for? They're looking for flexible jobs that will fit in around their student and other life commitments. They want roles which don't need any particular experience. That's why our hashtag is no experience necessary. They're really frustrated because they're forever in that catch-22 where every role that they apply for needs a year's experience, and they can't get that experience without getting their first role. They're looking for developmental and experiential training, and also that support that a buddy can give during the first 3 months of their employment. And of course, throughout the recruitment process, feedback when they're asking for it so that they can really learn from the process. Thank you. Next slide, please. So what's our commitment to you? These are the things that we're committed to making at the moment. So we're making a toolkit. #1 on that is the free job postings and the employer profile on care and support jobs. We're creating an induction checklist, a buddy playbook, and also some stay interview questions. I know this is an area where Amanda and the team at Cohesion have got some real expertise and advice around retention. And you will get a 1-page profile template. We're also, as I mentioned, reaching out to schools, colleges and universities, and we're going to promote the initiative at speaking events and conferences. And there are already a number of those engagements lined up. Next slide, please. So here we go. What next? Well, that's quite a big arrow. Quite a lot of things to do, but we've got lots of momentum here. So there's the URL to the website page. Should be fairly simple to remember. It's a bit of a long one, but it is the name of the initiative. So www.stepintosocialcare. Take a look. Please add relevant jobs to care and support jobs. We want as many relevant vacancies on there as possible. But you can also help us with content. your people sharing their experiences as it happens. So this is where social media is brilliant, where we can bring to life the initiative in real time. You can also add your support by using our logo on your website and sharing on social media, and talking about Step into Social Care with your connections and other influencers. Hopefully today you'll feel inspired by it, and will talk to your colleagues, but also your connections. And tell us about what happens. Tell us about the successes, or tell us how we can gather new case studies to build the picture of what Step into Social Care is going to achieve, and how rewarding it is to work in social care. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. That was great. I hope it's inspired everybody to get involved. So now we hand over to Stephen Isherwood, the CEO of the Institute of Student Employers. The ISE have over 500 members, and they've been a not-for-profit member organisation for over 50 years now. And the vision of the ISE is that the success of every business is maximised by full access to student talent, which is exactly why we've invited Stephen to speak to us today. The ISE are very good at bringing together employers, supplier partners, and critically, the education sector, in order to provide leadership and support in all aspects of student recruitment and development. So for those of you that are considering early talent strategies, we would really recommend considering membership in order to access the resources that the ISE can offer. Over to you, Stephen.
Fantastic. Thanks for the introduction, Amanda. Yeah, so my name's Steve Isherwood here at the ISE. I've been working in I've had this job for about 9 years, but I've been in the whole sort of early talent, graduate recruitment, student recruitment space for over 20 years now. So hopefully I'll bring some of that experience to bear over the next brief period while I talk through a couple of key points that I want to get across really. First is actually what's happening in the early talent market at the moment. It is a very dynamic market. I'm conscious that on this webinar we'll have we've got lots of people who do know the market, but also we may have some employers that haven't necessarily thought about actually strategically engaging in this end of the hiring market. So a bit of market data really telling the sort of the current situation, current lie of the land. And then what I want to do is talk a little bit about why it's really important to engage with early talent early. I use the phrase early talent. The ISE used to be, when I took over, was all about graduates. We changed the name, etc., changed our focus. And that is because the market has changed. Employers who used to really just recruit graduates now look at talent in a much broader perspective, school leaver programs, apprentice programs. So I'll talk a little bit about that, but essentially to get over why it's really important to engage in the labour market and really important to engage early. So can I have the first slide, please? And I'll just talk about what's happening data-wise. As Amanda said at the start, really busy market, very hot markets. I've never known a recruitment market to be quite as intense as it is at the moment. We're collating the final data for 2022 to know actually where employers landed, but actually as all those lines show, vacancies up considerably, and actually up considerably on pre-pandemic levels. It's not just catching up to where we were before the pandemic, at the start of the pandemic, but exceeding that. So a lot more graduate vacancies, a lot more school leaver vacancies, and placements and internships have also picked up significantly as well. If I can move on to the next slide. And what does that mean sector by sector? I won't go through every single data point on this, but actually if you look at that first column of numbers, that's the difference in the number of vacancies pre-pandemic to this year employers were hiring. And you can see across pretty much all sectors, really significant growth levels there. Probably some of the flattest areas are where actually those sectors didn't reduce their recruitment too much during the pandemic. So areas like legal sector, charity and public sector, etc. They maintained their recruitment levels broadly through the pandemic. And it's a bit of a mistake to think that employers really cut back their recruitment significantly. The kind of employers that we work with understand long-term recruitment strategies. So if you pull back too heavily in any given year, actually have real problems in your talent pipeline a bit further down the line. If I can go on to the next slide, please. This is school leaver vacancies. As I said, actually the market has changed quite considerably, and you'll see here how actually that progression of employers looking into non-graduate as well as graduate vacancies is increasing significantly. The apprentice levy has a lot to do with this. If we start talking about the apprentice levy, we'll be here all day, but that has made a difference to the market. But to be honest, even before the apprentice levy, employers were looking at different entry routes into various sectors and various industries, trying to build that pipeline of talent. Overall, what I'd say about the recruitment market is it is very competitive at the moment. It may well get tougher, as we all know about the economic headwinds that we're currently facing. But in reality, and I'll come on to this a little bit later, demographic forces, things like Brexit, a whole range of other, just that need of employers to have skilled talent, in the long run, businesses are going to have to focus much more on growing talent rather than relying on being able to buy in that talent at a more experienced, higher level. Hence the growth in those school leaver programs as well as graduate programs. If we go on to the next slide. So what I want to talk a bit about now really is just what that means for students and what that means for early talent programs. So this is the information on applications per vacancy. Shows actually how difficult it is for students to get a job. It's really interesting. I talk about on the previous slide how competitive it is. I could talk to you about how employers find it really difficult to find the talent they need. But then you talk to students, they're like, well, I've got to make 80 odd applications, there's 80 applications per vacancy out there. I find it really tough to get a market. And that's a difference between the lived experience of students and actually what's happening in the recruitment market. And there's a real issue around what sectors people apply to, regional variations. There are lots of employers that when we get to that sort of micro level, we find that they get real issues. So there's a real problem of actually real disconnect, I think, between students and the employment market. And there's a real challenge in how we transition those students through. I'm generalizing very heavily on this presentation, which is actually a bit of a mistake when it comes to the early talent labour market, because it is a series of distinct labour markets. The market for social care will be very different to the market in finance, very different to the market even for other areas of the health system. So it's important to think about those localized difficulties when we talk about student hiring. If I can go to the next slide, please. But I want to talk a little bit about what do students want from employers? What can educators do to actually improve these transitions through the workplace? What can employers do to make use of that early talent, or if we're going to use things like internship programs and work experience programs, what kind of forces do we need to tap into? So this is one of the key things that sometimes people forget about the UK, and it is a very UK specific thing. 86% of employers on our survey data do not recruit by degree subject. Now you might think that's a little bit odd, but actually it's true when you think about it. My background is mostly professional services, the big firms, PwC, EY. We did not specify degree subjects. In fact, the majority of our hires did not have things like accounting and finance degrees. So actually, the students have a very generalist view of the labour market as they progress through education. That means they're always looking for opportunities to develop things like transferable skills. And again, I'll come back to that very shortly, when the importance of early identification programs and placement programs. And that's why I think there's a real opportunity for the care sector to tap into that hunger from students to get those kind of experiences, because it directly relates to what I was just saying about a competitive jobs market, but it's also a way of building for future talent into your organizations. So if I can just go on to the next skills, onto the next slide. So what kind of skills are we talking about? If we're not talking about actually what specific technical skills might you need to get a job in the early talent market, if your degree subject doesn't necessarily drive what you do, what do employers look for? You know, again, I could talk for a very long time around the whole kind of recruitment process, selection process, those kind of skills. But there are core skills that we're always very keen to get the message out that employers across the board look for when hiring early talent. The reason that actually employers in the UK don't focus too much on technical disciplines is because actually there's the belief that they can train that, so they can develop that. But actually, if you take a benchmark of core skills that I've got demonstrated by these images: ability to work in teams, ability to problem solve, ability to communicate, ability to take some risks, challenge yourselves, ability to manage yourself in tight deadlines, and the ability to do with information and information-rich age. Those are the kind of things employers look for, and then they can build the technical skills on top of those. And those are a lot of the message that educators are also, through career services, etc., pushing out to students. That's the kind of transferable skills that students need to develop to make themselves employable, which is where early ID programs very much kick in. If I can go to the next slide, please. So within the care sector, you're probably used to looking at demographic slides at the top end of the spectrum when we talk about an aging population. But I wanted to point out the bottom end of this area, looking at the number of young people actually coming through. And as you can see, actually, you know, we have a reduced number of young people coming through. Now, we know what all that means when it comes to the tax base and all sorts of other issues that puts into society. But I'm looking at this from a talent lens, where if you're not engaged in the recruitment of early talent, or developing early talent and feeding that into your resourcing structures for the future, actually you're going to have real problems when it comes to trying to fill resources. And in a sector that already has challenges around recruiting enough people, I think the demographic forces at play are going to make it even tougher as the years go by, which is what I was alluding to when I said earlier. That's what's driving a lot of the challenges in the recruitment market. And there are lots of sectors that really get this information. That's why they're building long-term brands. If you look at somebody like Teach First, that's a great example of a program that's been in place for a number of years now, but that has really sought to change the profile of young people, not just entering the teaching profession, but actually creating ambassadors. Not all Teach First participants actually stay within teaching, but actually they do remember that experience. They become ambassadors for the sector throughout the rest of their working lives. So there's demographics really important. If I can go to the next slide. So here I just want to talk about actually what's happened really over the last 20 or so years. So when I started in this game many years ago, we didn't really talk to students apart from final year students. We talked to some students in their penultimate year because there were some summer placement programs. We didn't even use the word internship back then. But if somebody came along maybe in the first year, for example, we'd tell them, away, go away, go and be a student. Actually, we just weren't interested really in engaging that earlier stage. And as to pre-university, actually did pretty much nothing at all in that space. So what's happened as the war for talent, you know, that cliche, has got stronger and stronger over the years, employers have realized that they need to engage much earlier in the cycle of students. So employers have things like first year programs, they have gap year programs, they do a lot more work in schools, not just hiring for school leaver programs, but actually starting to instill those kind of employer brands in the process. And basically what employers are doing, they're taking talent off the market before that point where somebody leaves college or graduates from university. So real significant increase in opportunities in this area. And as I mentioned as well, those employers that are switched on to the world of careers and employability, they also know that it's good to get those kind of experiences because it makes them more employable. So if your sector is not engaged in this space, you are missing out on all that talent. As I showed earlier, you know, a decreasing population at younger age levels, and lots of sectors getting in early and taking that talent effectively off the market. So if I can just go onto the next slide. This is my penultimate slide, so nearly finished. And the reason employers do this is because it is very productive. They wouldn't do it if it didn't work for their organizations, if they didn't get a good return on their investment. So there's a whole bunch of experiences we're talking about here, whether it's placement years, whether it's summer internships, where it's things like work experience weeks, whether it's just part-time work. You know, a lot of the time I say to students, you don't have to have some gold-plated internship program. It's just having that good work experience can reap dividends. But the two data points on here, so I think the key one is that blue line. So that's the 90th percentile. So we say to employers, out of all the people who do work experience with you, how many of them actually end up being employers? And those that do it really well, those that provide an interesting experience, they look after the students who come and work for them, they help them develop their skills. 80% of those people who join those organizations actually end up working for them. So that's the real reason employers do that. It's a great way of sourcing your early talent. And I think that's the key message I want to get over, which is for a sector to really look at engaging with early talent, it's important you do it well, it's important you do it properly, but there are real significant dividends to be reaped from doing that. One final slide. As Amanda said, we're really keen to engage with people in this sector. We are an employer-led organisation. Over half of our members are employers, but also we're a broad body. Great to work with partners like Cohesion and Adam's organisation, as well as we have, you know, schools, colleges, and university members as well, all exploring the kind of things I've been talking about. So if you do want to find out a bit more, that's our website. And the Knowledge Hub, that is free to access for non-members. So you'll find actually quite a lot on there around blogs, surveys, some data, some analysis, a whole bunch of there, some videos, webinars you can look at, which will explore everything that I've talked about in a lot more detail. I've done a real cook's tour this morning, covering quite a lot of areas at a pretty high level. So please do visit the website, and please do explore this a lot more. I'm really keen that we can help as much as we can with the care sector. I personally fundamentally believe it's important, socially very much to the UK, but I'm preaching to the converted when I say that. I'll pop the website link in the chat, and I'll also pop my email address. So afterwards, if anyone wants to get in touch, please do. But that's it from me for now. Amanda, I'll hand over back to you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. That was amazing. Now, everybody, if that's not a reason to join this campaign and develop jobs for young people, I don't know what is. Imagine taking part and having an 80% return on anybody taking a step into social care vacancy. I'll leave that with you to think about. But next up today is Rebecca Hicklin. Rebecca is a service delivery manager for the Prince's Trust. And as I'm sure you all know, the Prince's Trust helps 11 to 30-year-olds find the tools and confidence to try free courses and start careers. And the work that the Prince's Trust do is only possible because of their partners and supporters. So with that in mind, today might be the day that you consider what kind of partnership you could start that would make a difference to the lives of young people and develop young talent for your organisation. So over to you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everybody. My name's Rebecca, and I'm based in the Southwest. We are a kind of national charity, but I'm going to talk to you today just a little bit about what the Prince's Trust do and how we're helping get young people jobs in the health and social care sector. Next slide, please. So, we are the Prince's Trust. We were formed in 1976 from the now King Charles III's naval pension. And for the last kind of few decades, we've been developing and delivering programs to support young people aged 11 to 30 in their next steps. So our vision is that every young person should have the chance to succeed. So we work with young people from the most deprived backgrounds across the country to support them into kind of three categories: to live, learn and earn. So live would be all focused around our personal and social development programs, building their confidence and helping them progress into their next step, whether that be education, employment or training. We then have our learn category, which is we work in schools and colleges across the country, again, to build their confidence and help them with educational attainment and supporting young people again onto whatever that next step might be. One of our brilliant programs in the colleges also gives the opportunity for young people to have a go at work experience. So just going off kind of what Stephen said there, I think that is a really valuable, we see the kind of real value in that for our young people as well. And then finally, EARN, which is where our health and social care programme fits in. So this is supporting young people into specific areas of employment through placement-based programmes, focusing on employability skills, building their confidence in the sector, and just giving them the skills to kind of succeed in interviews, in job applications, and supporting them through that steps to make sure that they kind of, once they're in the world of work, they can stay in it. So we don't just kind of look at short-term outcomes, we're looking at those sustained job outcomes to keep them in work. We found kind of since COVID, we did a youth index report, which interviewed over 2,000 young people aged 16 to 25. And 46% of them reported that their mental health had declined during that time. And 25% of them agreed that they didn't think they would ever recover from the pandemic. So this is where kind of the Prince's Trust are really trying to step in with our partners to support young people as we come out of kind of this really kind of uncertain time, and help young people recover from that emotional impact, but also giving them the skills to kind of succeed into employment and training. Next slide, please. I'm just going to show a video, and this was a young person who took part on one of our social care programs. Oh, I can't hear it. I don't know if the sound has been shared.
To me, care means going the extra mile for someone else. I do what I do because I don't want people to struggle, and I want to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity in life. Before I applied, I was so worried because I was like, I don't even know how to boil an egg. So how am I going to look after somebody who needs my support to help them live their life? It does not matter at all. You go through so much training that before you know it, it's easy. I didn't realize how much it would take to the job when I started. It's so interesting. No day is the same. I'm still learning. I get to take part in all these really fun activities and you get paid to do it, which just doesn't feel right. My confidence has definitely grown since starting this job. I didn't realize how capable I was of doing it. I also didn't expect the sort of friendship you have with the people you look after. When you walk in, they go, oh, you're here. It's fun. It's really fun. If you're a creative person, you get to put aspects like that into the job as well. It's not about limiting what they can do because of their disabilities. It's about overcoming it and going, okay, well, how can we make this work for them instead then? It's been so rewarding to actually apply it. I just want to do what's best for you, and I just want you to live as good a life as you can. There's absolutely no wrong path. It's not too late to figure out what you want to do in life. There's only one way to find out if it's right for you or not. Just go for it.
Thanks, Dave. Next slide. Okay, so our health and social care programs, we partnered with the Department for Health in 2020 to support young people across England, aged 16 to 30, into jobs in the health and social care sector. These include roles both clinical and non-clinical, and have included apprenticeships. We do this through 3 different types of programs. So we have our Get Into program. This is traditionally our around 2 to 6 week long course. Often there is a practical work placement involved in this. Due to COVID, the practical element did get put on hold, but we're now seeing young people back in doing their work experience placements for kind of 2 to 4 weeks of that program. They cover things like the care certificate in this, and also just kind of the values and looking again at those transferable skills. So many of the young people we work with don't have experience in care, might not have any kind of work experience. So we kind of work with them on what they've been doing in their personal lives, thinking about what they're like with their friends, or in college if they've done a presentation, or whatever they're kind of, wherever they're at that point. We really look at those transferable skills to help them into interviews at the end of the course. Then finally, the Get Started is our other program. So that's normally 2 to 3 days. This is a slightly shorter program and would be for young people that are kind of typically more kind of work ready and just need that extra support with job applications, again, interview skills. And we give them, at the end of both of these programs, the young people are they kind of can take part in an interview, and that's with our employer partners. So we work with social care providers, NHS trusts, ambulance services across the country to get young people jobs for live vacancies. So after our programme, the young people take part in the interview, and then we ask our employers to get back to us within 5 working days on the next steps for that young person. So it's kind of a speed interview, a chance for young people to be screened, and for them to kind of just understand the employer, but also for the employer to get to meet that young person before they maybe go to the kind of hiring manager. We then give young people mentoring. So after each of our programs, all young people are offered a mentor for up to 6 months. This will basically gives them kind of confidence building, problem solving skills, and they can kind of take whatever they want to their mentor. So if it is around confidence building, or if it's somebody that kind of they've not worked before, so having that kind of first job can be quite overwhelming and not actually knowing how to respond to challenges at work. So we really ask our mentors to kind of support with that. We also do this as a standalone offer. So if young people don't feel like they want to take part in a program, but they do want that extra bit of support with job applications, mock interview skills, that's another place where our mentors can step in. Next slide, please. This is just showing kind of our real focus on EDI. At the moment, we are seeing over kind of 35% of young people from Black and ethnic minority backgrounds across our programs in the UK coming onto our programs. Another one of our focuses is to get 25% of men into the sector. As you can see, we're sitting at around 23% at the moment. And then again, you can just see the kind of split of the age range of the young people we're working with. At the moment, it is kind of towards 26 to 30-year-old, but that kind of changes on program. Like last week, we ran a program in the Southwest, and I think everybody was 20. So it kind of just depends on where we kind of focus our outreach. We work with colleges, other kind of social care and kind of health programs that are running to kind of offer that kind of bespoke support across the Prince's Trust. You can also just see where we're working in terms of deprived areas. So you can see that in the kind of IMD1 areas, that is our kind of biggest audience, and that's where we're really trying to focus our support so that we can give young people from those backgrounds the best possible chance to succeed. Next slide, please. So again, this was just some research that our partners Wave Hill conducted. So some evidence that our program has been helping to stream the recruitment process and has been cost savings for our employer partners, how it's influencing improvements in the workforce and wellbeing support for candidates and their retention within the workforce. The program is also helping with recruiting young people from the local community. So we've been seeing young people around local hubs working within their communities as well. And then finally, it's embedding a values-based approach to recruitment, because our young people are going into entry-level roles and we really focus on those values rather than experience. It's really been driving stronger retention in the workplace and better patient and service user outcomes. Next slide, please. Here's just a slide about a young person who won a Prince's Trust Award earlier this year.
Life growing up was challenging. I actually left home at 17 and I was homeless. I was scared. I was on my own. It was just a struggle to survive at sometimes, I think.
In 2016, at the age of 26, Tanya entered a new relationship.
At first, everything was brilliant. And as time went on, I started noticing little things like he was becoming very controlling. The verbal abuse started and he would call me names. My confidence was so low, I was very depressed. It ended with him coming back from a party one day and he punched me, and that's what made me decide that I can't be in this relationship anymore, and I had the strength to finally leave.
In 2018, Tanya left everything she knew behind and with her 2 children moved to a women's refuge.
You're on your own, you don't have support, you're not in your familiar surroundings. It was hard. One day I spotted an ad from Prince's Trust. They were running a programme to recruit new people for the London Ambulance Service. Something inside me as well just thought, I don't think I can do this. Being out of work for so long, being a mum, having kids and beginning a new career. So I was really nervous about it.
Tanya's Prince's Trust mentor, Ashley, supported her and was on hand to offer emotional and practical advice every step of the way.
I think one of Tanya's biggest barriers was confidence and that she could do the role. She was really worried about childcare, just being a single mum. It was my role just to reassure Tanya that it was all going to be okay and that she could do this, because I knew she could.
After all the assessments and the interviews, I was offered the position of assistant ambulance practitioner to overcome everything that I've faced in my life, and now I can provide for my children. It's just brilliant, best feeling in the world. Oh, sorry. I never in a million years thought that my journey would end up with me winning a national award. It's just such a good feeling and I'm so proud of myself.
As a result of the pandemic, Tanya's never met Ashley in person. And what Tanya doesn't know is that Ashley's come to surprise her.
Like saturation levels.
To say well done.
God, I'm so smiling. My cheeks are hurting.
Super proud of you, because you've moved absolute mountains and you've faced setbacks. It's incredible. You are a super mum. Literally, you're a super mum.
So I really do believe that without your help and support, I wouldn't be here. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dave. Next slide. Okay, so yeah, how can you get involved? Next step. Next slide. Next step. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are a number of ways that you can get involved. So one of the ways is becoming an employer partner on our programs. So what we ask for this is that our employers provide job descriptions 5 weeks ahead of our program. On our programs, we have a Q&A with our employers where the young people can find out more about the individual jobs that are available, and just a chance for you to kind of, again, meet those young people ahead of that screening interview. And then a commitment to interviews for live job vacancies. So the job descriptions are being provided. We run kind of short 15 to 20-minute interviews on the final kind of day of our programs. And that would just be having a commitment from either your recruitment teams for that day. Next slide, please. Another way could be referring young people. So if you're working for a college, university, community organisation, you could refer young people to our programmes. So we can run closed programmes for young people of kind of groups of 10 plus. Or if you're an organisation and you've got unsuccessful applicants, but that you think could do with some support with their interview skills, their application, send them over to us and we might be able to support them back into roles. So it might just be that their interview wasn't quite up to kind of what you needed at that point. We can support them to get them that employment. Finally, we can also support young people with financial support. So participants can access up to £500, which can remove financial barriers to work. So we've funded young people with a first month's travel, uniform, DBS, training fees, whatever it is to remove that financial barrier. So with that young person working for the London Ambulance Service, we helped with her C1 licence for that. So that was funded, which enabled her to get into work with the ambulance service. Next slide, please. And then finally, you could also partner with us to deliver our programs. So that we can optimise the number of young people that are being supported by the Prince's Trust. We are seeking new partnerships with different organisations where you could be allocated funding to deliver our programs. We would help with the delivery, but we could provide you with content and resources that could help with this delivery. Next slide, please. So this is just a little bit more information about how you could get involved with the partnership delivery side. There is funding of kind of up to £36,000 to be able to deliver these works. It would be paid quarterly based on job outcomes for young people. So our contract with the Department for Health, we look at sustained outcomes. So we have to report on 3-month retention in roles, and that's how we get our funding from the Department for Health. All young people on those programs as well would have access to our mentoring program. So again, if you're working with young people or you have young people starting employment with you and you think actually they could do with that confidence building, get in touch and we can see how we can support them. That was a bit of a whirlwind, but I've got my contact detail at the end. So please do get in touch if you've got any questions or if you'd like to get involved, because we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Rebecca, thank you so much. I think I'm looking at the notes in the chat. I wasn't the only one that was very touched by listening to that last video in particular, but really wonderful to hear how the programs the Prince's Trust run are shaping that future workforce by bringing in more diversity. I mean, we are largely, the frontline social care is largely a white, female, middle-aged workforce. So some fantastic stuff going on there, and certainly hope it has inspired all of you to consider how you might be able to work with the Prince's Trust. So I'm very conscious of everyone's time. Before we move on to questions, we thought we would just show you, you are amongst the first to see the newly launched website for Step Into Social Care. So there are links on there to get in touch to access the toolkit. There are links to post a job. There are some fantastic videos of leaders in the sector and beyond that you can watch, and lots more information about what you can do to get involved. Next slide, please. Also wanted to make you aware of our next event, the social care retention crisis, how online assessment and development tools can make a difference. This is taking place on the 4th of October, and again, you can sign up for that now. Okay, so Dave, over to you. What questions have we seen come up?
We've had some great questions and comments. Thank you very much. So a few have been answered along the way, but I'm going to highlight them anyway. So Jane, thank you very much for asking the question, are Skills for Care involved? Thank you, Janine and colleagues at Skills for Care for jumping in. I know, Janine, you commented that obviously you're here today to hear more about Step Into Social Care. Absolutely would welcome follow-up conversations. And you may have also seen, Jane, that Skills for Care are involved with the Prince's Trust, specifically around the programme that Bex was talking about today. So thank you for those comments, and thanks for the follow-up, Janine, on that. Some great feedback from Sharon, thank you. Just around the hashtag, would we consider capitals to really emphasise? I don't think the answer would be no. So thank you for the feedback, and any other feedback as you start looking at our newly created website content. Keep that feedback coming. You know, this is very much a partnership between all of us as a sector and partners. So thank you for that feedback, Sharon. We had a question from Natalie. Have young people been involved in the consultation and development? Amanda, I wondered if you could perhaps talk about your experiences with Harlow College students in particular.
Yes, I can. Thank you, Dave. So yes, young people have been involved, predominantly at Harlow College, and Adam and I, Dawson Walker and Cohesion, ran a number of sessions, both in person and remotely. First of all, to understand what their lived experience is, what were they finding? And you heard a lot of that in our earlier slides. So they were finding that even though studying, were finding it really difficult to find jobs and get into the sector. There was a good deal of resentment in the room in one session, actually, because students felt that they were being told, that by some people that values-based recruitment meant they didn't need experience, and then by others that they needed experience. But in answer to the development question, in terms of what the programme is, yes, they did shape it. In terms of what it looks like in the branding, they absolutely shaped it. In fact, they really changed our thinking on some critical points, such as we originally started talking with our advisory group about a weekend work programme. They soon put us right on that. That's not what they're looking for. And actually, when you think about it, having that flexible workforce that want to work in the sector, that want to work full time in the holidays in the summer and in other holidays, and then part-time in the week, I suspect would be very welcome by providers who are seeing spiraling and increasing agency costs. So they were a huge part of the programme. Thank you. And we hope will continue to be as we move forward. In fact, actually, a last point on that, we are also presenting to the National Care Forum CEO conference, which is now taking part in November. And we're going to be bringing students and the tutor from Harlow College that worked with us on the programme along to that. So they're a very big part of it. And sadly, they couldn't be with us today.
Thanks, Amanda. Bex, we've got a question that had come in to ask, do you visit colleges to conduct talks?
Yes, we do. Yeah, it would depend on kind of the local team, depending when you are, but we do outreach in colleges. Yeah, for sure. So we can, if you just drop me an email after this, we can talk about how we can get involved with your college.
Thanks, Bex. I suspected that was the case. Brilliant to hear. Sharon, another question from you. So you're representing the University of Edinburgh today and obviously doing a lot of awareness around careers in social care, which is great. You mentioned that social care jobs are reasonably popular as a part-time work option. I think it's a really important feature to mention. The question for, and I guess hands up from the panel to whoever would like to answer this, how do we then encourage the students to see the careers in social care as a sector of choice, particularly at graduate level? Stephen, I don't know if you wanted to perhaps come in first.
Sure. I think one of the key things is to recognise that it is a competitive market for students' attention. It's a very noisy market, and one of the flip sides of what students study not driving what jobs they have to do means that students have lots of choice. It also means that the graduate market in the UK is very sort of employer brand driven, because if you've got a big employer, they will go to a university campus and they're interested in all the students, you know, not just particularly ones on a particular course. So I think there's a lot of work for the employers to do actually in this sector, and that's really to help students understand the sector, help students understand the careers paths. I mean, I've been learning more over the last year around career pathways within the social care sector, and there's some great roles there, as you all know. I mean, there's great roles, there's great progression. People can get very responsible roles, you know, pretty early in their careers. And I think a lot of that gets missed. There's too many misconceptions about the sector. So there's lots and lots of things we can do, but actually getting students in early, getting them to get experience is really important, but you've got to have something for them to latch onto. Students want good training, they want good career pathways, and that's where employers, I think, need to do a lot of work to demonstrate on those career pathways that are available in this sector, and then that then students will hook into it. Again, that's kind of what I was saying with the early ID space. The employers that do it well, they get good students into their organizations, they get them to experience the organizations. If those students like what they see, they don't go elsewhere. So yeah, it's having a good, well thought through program that really educates students on those opportunities. I think that's the key message I would give on this webinar.
Thanks, Stephen. That's great. Adam, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, just to say, I think there's a real need to overcome some perceptions and to reveal what working in social care and in support roles is like. I don't think people who are outside of the sector really understand it, and I think there's a really big need to do that, and to reveal just how rewarding it can be to work in the sector, and you know, how the experience, Stephen, you were talking about experience can add to your CV, that actually the role you take on as a student could lead to a career, but actually it could lead to developing your career elsewhere, but give you some amazing life skills whilst you're in the care sector.
Thank you, Adam. That's great. We've got loads of questions coming in. I am going to continue. I do appreciate the time today. So if anybody does need to leave to get off to other meetings, we'll continue recording and we'll perhaps still continue answering the questions. So we can make sure that you can follow up if you do need to drop off. Hope that's okay for our speakers. Please shout if not. Another question coming to Bex. Bex, if an organisation were to work with the Prince's Trust, how does the relationship work between the provider, the care provider, and the mentor?
So the mentor and the young person relationship would be a kind of private relationship between them and the mentor. We do ask for monthly mentor reports from our mentors, so we would have kind of visibility of what was going on. I think like our mentors are kind of very skilled in what they do, and if there were any kind of particular, I guess, like issues or things that they felt that the young person should be going to their employers about, they would be encouraging them to do that. So yeah, that would kind of be the relationship. But if you've got any other questions, just let me know.
Thanks, Bex. That's great. We had a question coming around adding job vacancies to step into social care. So I can perhaps pick this one up. So you can absolutely find the link through to the job board via the Step Into Social Care website, which is launched today. That will link through to care and support jobs. We also shared the link in the chat, but we'll also follow it, included in the follow-up. It is absolutely free of charge for any care employer to sign up to advertise positions. So you can create yourselves your own profile, make sure you've got some great content there, really encouraging people to really see what it really means to work for you, and all those rewarding elements that we've talked about and Adam mentioned a moment ago. Once you've created a profile, you'll be able to upload your vacancies, and you'll also be able to, as you're posting a job, if it's relevant for Step Into Social Care, you'll be able to badge it as a Step Into Social Care opportunity, so that when we engage with students and young people sharing the vacancies, they'll be able to really easily search for Step Into Social Care opportunities. So yeah, check it out via Step Into Social Care website, or via Care and Support Jobs as well. And now I've done the talking, I've lost completely where we're at with questions. So Amanda, let's just have a quick look. So had a comment from Dudley. Totally agree, Sharon. Getting a generation to see the vast range of job roles in the social care is extremely important. So thank you. Minal, you're very active when it comes to recruiting young people and students. Great to hear. We offer weekends, part-time work to students, allowing them to do more hours in the holidays. And absolutely, that is the way that we have been speaking to providers in terms of think of the opportunities of, yes, alongside study, somebody may need to do part-time hours, but in the holidays, you know, they can become full-time, and they often want to as well. So there's some great opportunities there. However, you do want to talk about domiciliary care. Yes, absolutely, you do need to consider whether your care setting is suitable. Not all settings will be. Whether that be home care, whether that be complex care settings, you know, you've got to make that decision and decide whether your setting is the right setting and what support you can put in place. Finding it difficult to retain, they often are unable to travel to the homes. Amanda, do we have any thoughts from speaking to various home care providers about overcoming those challenges? I guess the first thing popped into my head around sort of buddying up, because this would be experiential positions that would encourage somebody, when they are able to you know, drive, actually join as an employed worker. But Amanda, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it is about shoring up the resource for the future. So, you know, there is no getting away from the fact that at the beginning of this type of initiative, there is the need to provide support for incoming workers. But over time, that we're going to blink and it will be Christmas. We're going to blink again, and all of the students that are now in their final year will be in the workforce. So I think it is about taking that long-term view of understanding how you can help and support some people to the level that is required if they are potentially a younger worker, and then grow it once you've got that platform of understanding what makes this type of scheme successful. I'm just going to touch on a couple of points that you mentioned earlier, Dave. So Minal, thank you. Acacia have some phenomenal videos, and I look forward to seeing them on care and support jobs on your employer profile, about how you've worked really hard to engage hearts and minds of younger workers about the opportunities that you can offer on a part-time basis. I think some of those are just really fabulous. And secondly, just echoing Adam and Stephen's thoughts, I'm not sure because I haven't seen everybody that's taking part, but Alex Ball at Stowe Healthcare is one of our advisory group members. And Alex worked as a part-time Saturday job prior to going to university at Stowe Healthcare. And when she finished university, she had no plans to work in health and social care. And she just wanted to get some money while she thought about getting a graduate job. And that graduate job turned out to be number 2 to the owner of Stowe Healthcare, because she came back in to help out, and she's now their operations manager. So, you know, that there are lots of stories like that where people fall into a role and then realize what a great sector it is. Alex will actually be leading on our social media and building a LinkedIn page and other really exciting stuff. So when that's live, I know we said it before, but please do share your stories and experiences on there. And I think we've just got a hello from Alex there in the chat. I said I would check you, didn't I, Alex? So yeah, back to you, Dave.
No, that's great. Thank you. Just to reiterate, we absolutely will keep sharing that link, the website link. You can, I understand, sign up. You can tell this is a brand new website, can't you? You can sign up to get in touch with us as well. There will be a sign up form. So once you fill that out, we'll know you're interested, and we can get in contact. But equally, everybody that's attended today will have access to relevant links and contact details accordingly. Gary, the link will allow you to join the programs and link live jobs that you've got in Kent, Suffolk and London, so that's great to hear. We had a question coming around CQC involvement. Are they supportive of such initiatives, Amanda?
We have had a meeting with the CQC, and of course, as your sector regulatory body, they can't endorse in the way that I would love them to. However, the CQC on inspection are always interested in best practice and ways that the sector can help with the challenges that are out there, recruitment and workforce challenges being top of the list. So I would encourage all of you to, talk to your service managers and home managers, whatever you are doing to try and alleviate the issues that you're all facing. Gather information about it, share the evidence, and make sure that you talk to the inspectors about it when they come in. There are various ways that within their network they can share that best practice so that everyone can benefit.
Thank you, Amanda. And one final question. Yes, we will absolutely share the slides. We'll create a specific landing page that you will be shared a link for, where you can access all material from today. And I think that concludes our questions. So thank you very much. Amanda, did you want to end on any final points?
I would like to end on a thank you again to all of our speakers, to Stephen, to Bex, to Adam, to you, Dave, to Meg on our support team for all of your hard work in getting this event up and running today. I'd like to thank all of our supporters. I feel like I'm at the Oscars, goodness. All of our supporters and all of our advisory group members. I'm not going to name check you all because we have already done it, but it couldn't have happened without all of you. So for those of you that are still in the room, please do consider how you can help to shape that workforce of the future and perhaps alleviate to some extent some of the challenges that we all face in social care recruitment. My details and Adam's details are all over all the web pages that we've mentioned. So if anybody would like to have a conversation generally about marketing, communications, recruitment or workforce challenges, we're here to help, support, advise and direct. And I think, conscious of time, we'll leave it there for today, but hope to see you all at our next event on the 4th of October.